Your vision is extremely important, and if you don't know where you're going, like then you're kind of just spinning through life. Devin, you are just as capable as anyone to do this. You do not have to be the expert. You just have to facilitate and bring the people together. And you have a good heart. You are amazing with people. Like, you're made to do this, and this is going to be your success story.
Wow.
And
cool.
My recommendation for anyone is literally just make the video, talk about it, just start telling people you do this thing now. And
That's sauce. What you just said is sauce. Like, go out there, do it for a cheaper price, meet the competitor, get the testimonial, rinse and repeat, and then raise your prices.
Yeah. Over the last year, I learned so much about, like, okay, who is the ideal client, the person that I want to work with? What transformation can we provide them? What specific platforms are we going to help them to use and not budge on? What contracts are we going to have in place?
But what can you tell that person right now that they're scared to fail, that feeling? Like, what if someone pays me and then I fail? What would you say to them? All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast, Shack in Progress. I have Devin. Devin, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you having me.
I just met Devin 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you. The power of social media and followers. So I reached out to Devin, and he has his own entrepreneurial group that everyone's following you in this business, which is great. That's not easy, getting the respect of entrepreneurs, right? So I appreciate you taking the shot. What got you interested? Why did you even take the shot to come on the podcast?
Man, whenever someone reaches out to me for an opportunity to, one, share my story, but to connect with other entrepreneurs here locally. And for me, honestly, this year, I really want to prioritize content and just any opportunity that comes to me for speaking, for podcasts, just saying yes to a lot more things. So that's why I said yes. And you seemed like good people, and I saw some people that you interviewed that I knew personally. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. There's always some credibility that helps. So I appreciate you kind of jumping on. So as you know, I was just prefacing that this whole podcast is more about the journey than anything else, right? You're literally sitting in my room right now. The walls tore up. It looks like crap in here, but in a few days or weeks, it'll be like beautiful, right? But what most people don't get to see on social media is this. They get to see you suited up, at night, hanging out with the entrepreneurs, whining and dining. But really up to that point, there's a struggle somewhere, right? So I'd like to kind of, you do a lot of things. I did a little bit of research on you, but I know this Arizona Entrepreneurs was a big focus for you. And I have someone named Jeff Heggie. I think hopefully I didn't ruin his name. But he said that he heard your vision 4 years ago of what you do today. And he's like proud of the fact that you got to this point.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So I found it doing my little research. Talk to me a little bit about just the Arizona Entrepreneurs. We don't have to go into it because you'd probably talk about it a lot, but how did the idea even come up?
Man, before I share more about the idea and how this all came to life, that's super interesting that you found that, because when I first started Arizona Entrepreneurs, like the first iteration of it, I did this Zoom call to launch it, where I basically got like 50 people on a Zoom call. We had the Instagram pretty active, so we had a decent audience, but I hosted this Zoom call, and there was about 50 people on the call. And then at the end, I made like a call to action for like, hey, join our membership and actually become a member of Arizona Entrepreneurs. And Jeff Heggie was the only person that signed up.
No way.
Yeah, only person that signed up. And that's just really cool to hear that and see that comment.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, he said it was on LinkedIn, and I was very curious I didn't even know who he was, but very cool that someone saw your vision. And he was the first person to join. Yeah. And now you're here, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But yeah, to answer your question, as far as like how it all got started, so for me, I was new here to Arizona, so I've been out here for about 6 years. Arizona Entrepreneurs has been around for about 4.5, like 5 years with the social media. But I was craving connections, man. Like, I was new here, trying to start different businesses. Like, I tried to start a videography company, drop shipping stores. I tried to start a lead generation company for like the home improvement industry.
Okay.
So I was just trying a lot of things and having a lot of failure and not really seeing much results. And I really knew that I needed to get around other entrepreneurs and just find people that I could learn from, coaches, mentors, and just get in rooms with people that were kind of on a similar journey. Because it was me and my good friend Tom. We were kind of starting all these first businesses together, but we had no experience. So we're just trying it based on our own like intuition. So yeah, I really realized that I need to get around the right people. So honestly, man, it kind of happened by accident. Like, I can't I would be lying to you if it was like, dude, I one day woke up and
Yeah,
had this huge vision for
right, right,
Arizona entrepreneurs, but I was really looking to meet other people. So I typed in Arizona entrepreneurs on Instagram. I figured there'd obviously be an account. I could go follow a bunch of people, DM some people, start to make some
right,
friends.
right.
And there wasn't an account. So I was like, well, I don't
Mm.
know what that is, but I'm going to claim that username. And that
Yeah,
feels kind of
that's a good
powerful.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then after a little while, I was like, hey, maybe let me get that LLC. And then I started putting out a little bit of content. Like how I started it, I would just reach out to like people who are way farther ahead than me. And I'd be like, hey, I'd love to highlight you on my Instagram page. And it was before collaborator posts, but I would do like, just post them and share their information and kind of just promote all these big entrepreneurs here locally.
right.
But yeah, we started to grow a pretty decent Instagram audience, and then it happened very quickly where I think part of it was because of name. So people just thought we were
Dude, yeah,
legit.
I
And
found you guys just because
you
of the
typed in
name.
Arizona entrepreneur.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
So a lot of people would reach out and they're like, oh, do you guys have networking events? Do you guys have coaching? Like just asking what resources that we had. And I was like, well, I'm looking for that too. So
Mm.
is there a way that I could like I'm a failed entrepreneur. I'm over here struggling right now. So
Right.
I'm not going to be your coach, but is there a way that I can facilitate and bring people together, bring in these high level entrepreneurs? And so it all started from that context where I was like, dude, I could just like bring these people together. I don't have to be the expert, and that's kind of what got me in that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you saw a need and you fulfilled it.
For sure.
That's great. I mean, that's kind of entrepreneurship
Yep.
in a nutshell. So that's great. That's your claim to fame from how I found you, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool to know that it was through failures that you found it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is really cool. So take me back, actually. Actually, I hit record. Yes, it did. Take me back to your first Instagram post. It looks like you're playing football. I don't know. That was in 2013. So did you grow up playing football?
Yeah. I grew up playing football like my whole life basically, and it was super interesting because that was my main passion. Like I wanted to go to the NFL. That was my only focus, and like throughout college, I played college football, and it was like my sophomore year where I kind of had like a identity crisis and a brain shift, and it was because I had an injury in football, so it was the first time where it was like, okay, this may not last forever. So like what am I going to do after this? Even if I do get the opportunity to play at the next level, what's going to be the next thing that I pursue? So then it got me because I remember when you orientation or whatever for college, they ask you like, okay, what do you want to
want to do,
study?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, like business management, I guess. I just
Right.
like picked the most basic thing.
Yeah.
And it's because I was just thinking about football, and that's the reason I was there. And then after that, I kind of had a shift where, well, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Hey, me too, brother. That's right. It's right there in my bookshelf.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the book. All right.
That's the one that shifted it.
That's great. Okay, so a lot of entrepreneurs I've sat with, I think three of them came Timo background in sports, Michael Gombrich background in sports, and a lot of entrepreneurs have a background in sports, right? But take me back to you being in childhood and with your family. Did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, or was there any sense of that in your family?
No, not really. Not in my family, and not at all in my family. Honestly, like I'm just thinking about family reunions and stuff that I've been to the past couple of years, where they're like, "What do you do?" Like
Yeah.
I still don't get it. But no, there wasn't really a lot of that in my family. But I had like sparks of it throughout. Like I was doing the lemonade stands, the garage sales, going to neighbors and mowing their lawns. So like I had those like entrepreneurial traits, but I genuinely didn't know what the word entrepreneur meant until I
Right.
was like well into college,
Yep.
which,
Hey,
which
me,
is
same here,
crazy.
same here. Right, yeah.
So I didn't know it, but once I started to learn more about this space and really what you can do with starting your own business and just creating your own thing, I was like, that is what I want to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe you didn't know what entrepreneurship was, but you were already trying to do it, right, as a
Exactly,
kids. But
exactly.
what inspired you? Not all kids want to do a lemonade stand. Some of them just want to play basketball or play video games. But what made you even want to do that? Did your dad or mom say something, or what inspired you as a kid?
I think I just enjoyed the concept of like offering something of value and selling it. So like even I remember when and just like when in school when you got to do the we would do things where we would have to go like door to door selling them something.
Like chocolate.
Yeah, like chocolate and
Yeah.
candy and stuff. I used to
Yes.
love that, bro. And I'm like, I'm gonna win this. So I think part of it was like the competitive edge with that type of stuff because you had like the leaderboard and everything.
True.
But I even remember for Relay for Life, a nonprofit organization that
Remember
fights
that one.
against like
Yeah.
breast cancer. They we used to donate to it. So me and my cousin, we would make these like bracelets and go around like trying to sell them to all the
Yeah,
neighbors.
y'all were hustling.
I know, I
That's
know.
awesome.
But like that, I don't know, that just whole concept of being able to like have something of value and to like go see how many we can sell or how much we can make
Yeah.
is like super cool to me.
I find that very interesting that your like your mom and dad didn't have a business, or like none of that was in your blood, but you found it interesting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a per se the money. Maybe there was some
It was a
incentive.
little bit.
It was a bit- but I like that you have a passion to like take something, sell it.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the selling aspect
Yeah.
is what gets you going, and then the
Yeah.
competitiveness, and then the money follows.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think my mom would always tell me that I was very money motivated. Like, so if she would tell my brother, like, hey, if you clean the dishes, I'll give you $5. Like, he wouldn't care about the $5.
I see.
Or if you get good grades or whatever. And me, I'm like, I'm going to clean those dishes. So, like, I was very, like, money motivated when I was a kid. So that may play an aspect into it. But I think more than that, it was just, like, being able to sell a
something.
product or service. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps a lot. So, what did mom and dad do for work, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so my mom, she made a lot of sacrifices for me and my brother. So I grew up single mom, and she was doing like everything to, keep the roof over our head. So she was like a school bus driver. She was a cleaning lady where she cleaned like churches and different residential homes. And yeah, she did a lot of different odds and ends jobs that I knew she wasn't passionate about, but she was just doing it to make a salary to take care of us. So but yeah, it's super cool now because she actually moved out here to Arizona as well. I'm originally from Michigan, and she just started her own business. So I had her read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like all the stuff that
Nice.
I've been learning throughout, really college until now. I'm like preaching to my mom and passing on to her, trying to shift her
I
mindset and
like
way
that.
of thinking. Yeah.
How does that feel, like being able to, your mom was your hero, I'm sure, growing
Mm-hmm.
up, taking care of her, or she's taking care of you guys, and now you have this opportunity to like impart knowledge into
Mm-hmm.
your mom. How does that make you feel?
It's super cool just to be able to, like I want to financially be able to support her and retire her one day. But even just now being able to like give value to her, although it's not in the form of money, it's like teaching her skill sets and just ways to shift her way of thinking. Because as Rich Dad Poor Dad taught us, like her parents, my grandparents, like that generation, it was very, save every single dollar, don't spend much, just very frugal. And
Yes.
so just sharing with her all the stuff that I'm learning, because she passed a lot of that stuff on to me as well. So as I'm learning and breaking some of those patterns in my
Right.
mind, sharing that with her. But it is super, super cool to be able to, yeah, just share with her what I'm learning and see her applying things and her mindset shifting.
What's the business that she has?
So she has been an occupational therapy assistant for a long time. So basically, like think of like senior living homes.
Mm-hmm.
She would be there, like basically making sure the residents are mobile and like doing a lot of things to take care of the residents. And so she saw there's residential assisted living homes, which is like you could start one where it's like, say you buy a 8-bedroom house and then you fill it with residents with people who are older who need basic assisted living. And so a lot of these homes, they don't have like activities for the residents, so they're just sitting there bored out of their mind in their
Yeah.
last years of life. And like obviously the children don't love to see their parents there, not really living the last years of life to the fullest. So what she does is with residential assisted living homes, because those ones don't really have the resources to provide activities, so she has a service where she goes in and provides activities for the residents. So she's doing some activities right now, but she's
Cool.
got like probably 6 to 8 homes right now that she's
Wow.
working with. And
So
she
like board games or like
exactly
just
board
activities in general.
games, arts and crafts. She's doing like a little balloon volleyball thing today with the
What?
residents. So
That's awesome.
it's cool because some of these residential assisted living homes, they make a lot of money as well, because these residents are paying $4,000 a month to be there,
Right.
and they have 8 to 10 rooms. And so being able to allocate some of that towards the actual livelihood of the residents is super important. But
I'm Filipino, so I know nurses and like people who worked at those places, and I worked at care home facilities before
really?
too. So I get what you're saying. Like people who are at the end of their life and their families don't want to see them, and they're kind of lonely. So your mom's business is fulfilling for her. Like she gets to help people,
Yep.
and she gets to make some money at the same time.
Yep.
That's really neat, actually. How did she come up with the idea?
Really, because she was in that space and she would see it, because she was at residential assisted living homes, and the residents would just be like, I'm so bored. Like I hate my life. I don't want to be here.
Right.
And so just like opening up to her how much they hate it. And a big aspect of that, one of the residents said, like, all I do is literally sit here and watch the TV for all my waking hours, and then I go to bed. And so that she definitely has a huge heart for the senior population. So that's a big aspect of it. But since she's in that whole space and seeing that, she saw a need where she's like, I could,
That's
make
cool.
these people's lives a lot better.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to mom. If you guys need her services, please reach out to Devin.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So now she's an entrepreneur. You grew up not realizing you're an entrepreneur, but you're competitive, and you started realizing this itch that you had. I guess take me back. Also, said your dad wasn't in your life. Okay, gotcha. So no relationship with your dad growing up, and you don't know what he was doing.
Not for work, but no, yeah, no relationship with him growing up, and I really don't know much about him.
Got it. No worries.
Yeah.
So you and your brother were pretty close then.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, we're completely different people. So we're like, but close by heart, but we're not like, we weren't similar people. So he wasn't necessarily someone that I was, because he's older than me, not necessarily someone that I was like trying to be like, but at the same time, we're like, I love him to death. So we're very close in that.
Is he like business, or he works?
No. Wait, you
What
said
does he
does he
do?
have a business?
Yeah.
Like he's like a general manager of like a smoke shop out
Nice.
in Indiana is where he's living right now.
Okay.
And he's doing some cool stuff. He built like this really big Twitter following and this big Twitter audience. So I'm trying to get him to like monetize that in a way. But no, he's doing some really cool things. But we're just different people. He's more of like a homebody, play video games, watch movies, hang out, which I love about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, just different personalities.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I know some entrepreneurs, and there's content out there that knocks on people that just have jobs, and I don't agree with that at all. Like,
Yeah.
if you love what you do and you get paid doing it, and you're happy, then no one should hate on that, right?
Exactly.
And some entrepreneurs hate what they do, but they just do it for the money and they live miserably, right? So I've learned over the years, like it doesn't really matter as long as you're happy with what you're
Exactly.
doing. So are you happy with kind of all the things that you're juggling at the moment?
I am. I'm really fulfilled by the work that I do with Arizona entrepreneurs. Like every month in person, being able to just bring all these business owners together who are just seeing the conversations and the actual relationships that come from doing those events. And like people will come up and tell me like, dude, I met this person and this happened. So that's like super fulfilling to me to know I'm making an impact on a lot of people's lives with Arizona entrepreneurs. And then the natural progression was like, I want to help other people build communities as well. I don't want to be limited to just Arizona. I want to help people build communities around the world. And so I've been doing a lot of work with my other company, Community Launch, and that has been extremely fulfilling because it's like the vision I have for it's like, okay, Arizona, we've had about 6,000 people that have come through the events over the last 4.5 years. So it's like,
That's awesome.
if I could just, I don't know what has come from it. Like all those 6,000 people, like what relationships and things have come, but I'm sure it's like a ripple effect of a lot of things. And so if I could do that in different markets and online and virtually in all these places, like that's what I feel like is my purpose and how I'm going to impact the world and have a lot of impacts on a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're able to, one, you stumbled into the Arizona entrepreneurs, but then you found the skill set for yourself that maybe just prior to finding Arizona entrepreneurs, you were like trying to figure it out,
100%.
right? So it feels like maybe you're starting to find your stride in what you can do, and like you're honing in on that.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like. So let's go back to football, because I feel like a lot of what people who are athletic or that have been in sports apply a lot to business, right? So how did the years of football like apply to your business life today?
Honestly, a lot from college football. So what I'll say is, really all of football, but especially college, because that is a job. Like I feel like we literally had practice or weights or something like 365 days. Like it didn't feel like there was a break with it. So that just taught me a lot about discipline, about showing up early, about like putting in the work. So like a lot of just like the disciplinary side of things I learned from football, and how to take coaching and mentorship, be coachable. But honestly, dude, the biggest thing, and this is something that I learned in high school football, I shared this on another podcast, but this resonated with me so heavily, is like when my coach would tell me like the night before, the day of, like, during the game, you have to visualize. You have to visualize yourself scoring that touchdown, catching that football, doing that thing. So like I was big on that, especially the night before. I'd just be laying in my bed thinking about me running down the sideline, scoring touchdowns, and I got really good at literally the crowd. So I got really good at visualization, and I use that a lot in entrepreneurship to where like whether I'm thinking long term and about the life that I want to create, or if it's more so like about the event tonight and how I want to show up, I use visualization a lot. So
That's
that was
cool.
another big thing that came from football.
Yeah, that's very unique actually, and that comes down to the coach, right? Sorry if this is pulling on
Oh
you.
no, you're
It's
good.
the cable here.
You're good.
So visualization, a lot of coaches don't apply that to. So you had a cool coach,
Yeah.
that's really neat. Uh, some people that I've learned, they do want to visualize and they want to focus on the end goal, but sometimes it just keeps getting further and further, right?
hmm
What do you do actively, or if maybe nothing, what do you do when you don't see the progress? Like, when you don't see the goal getting closer to you, how do you handle those times and moments in life?
That's a really good question. I could kind of answer that two ways. Like, one, I just want to share this quote before I forget it because I heard Tom Bilyeu, he shared this at this conference that I was at, and I was like, that's deep. And he said, with clarity of vision, strategies and tactics become self-evident. So he asked people, he's like, how many of you feel like clear on your goals? And everybody raised their hand. And then he's like, how many of you feel so clear on your goals that you know what to do in the next month? Half the room raised their hand. How many of you feel so clear on your goals and where you're going that you know what to do in the next 10 minutes? Like nobody's hands was
Wow.
up. So like I constantly come back to that where a lot of times that's just a clarity problem where it's like I might have an idea of what I want. I want a wife, I want a family, I want to make money, I want to do this, but it's like how clear are you on what's going to get you that specific result? So a lot of it just comes back to that and just being so crystal clear on what it is that you want to create, and then it becomes a lot more self-evident what you have to start doing now to reach that goal. But in addition, if it's something where I'm like doing all the things and I'm just not seeing the results, it can be challenging to overcome those moments. And I've experienced a lot of that, especially with like the businesses that I struggled with and failed with. But you have to bet on yourself and like fully believe in it, because that's the thing with entrepreneurship is like the reason that so many businesses fail and don't make it is because it's not easy, man. Like there's going to be a lot of low
Right.
moments and struggles and financial challenges, and like it's not for the faint of heart. So when a lot of people, and I think honestly going back to what you said previously, that resonates with football, and what I learned from football a lot is like bend don't break. So
Right.
a lot of people when they're facing that adversity where it's like I don't got any money in the bank account, like people aren't coming, this isn't happening, whatever the case may be, a lot of people in that moment will kind of quit and just decide to go to something more comfortable. And which to each their own. Like I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but if like entrepreneurship is something you're dedicated to and committed to, and you want to like see through what you're building, that those moments are what make people. So you just got to be able to double down on yourself, and even though things aren't showing up in real life, just believe so strongly in yourself and in the vision that you have that you're gonna figure it out one day.
Yeah, that's like pretty heavy, like to have someone latch onto those words and then actually follow through, right?
hmm
I guess I want to take us back to building Arizona entrepreneurs. You may have not qualified yourself as an entrepreneur when you were building it, right? You're like, let me just like put this all together and like
Yeah.
see what happens, right? So
Yep.
that's one. And then two, you're talking to guys that are legitimate entrepreneurs, like
hmm
established, they're doing their thing. So how did you manage, or maybe you didn't have these feelings, but did you feel like, hey, I'm a little less than this guy and let me put on a face to make sure that they see that I am somebody? Like, how did you manage that conversation with multiple people to build it to where it's at today?
That's a good question, man. Because I definitely went through that, and everybody goes through that, and it's all like based on experience. So like with anything, if you're gonna run a mile and you just try to run a mile right now, like I might run a 15-minute mile. I don't know,
Right,
but if
right,
you
right.
continue to do it and do it and do it, then it's like okay, maybe I get down to 8 minutes or 10 minutes.
I
So you're
see.
gonna you're gonna improve at it. So I think a lot of it, like having conversations with the bigger level people, man, I was starstruck at the beginning. Like, oh my God, man, how can I be of value? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
just being all weird. And I started to learn one, these people are no different than me or than any of us.
Mm,
We're all people. And so I started to learn that real quickly. And then also just like, I got more comfortable with just being myself and not putting people on a pedestal. And so now it's super interesting because I'll be around someone that's worth like a lot, 7, 8, 9 figures or whatever, and some of them like expect you to treat them all like there's
Yeah, yeah.
someone special, and I'm like, dude,
Right.
I'm around these
You
people a
can
lot.
see that and
Yeah, you
feel it.
can definitely feel it,
Yeah.
and I don't buy into that anymore to where I just treat them like a normal person, like they are. So it's interesting to see how that evolved because I used to be this all like shy, like
Yeah.
starstruck. Now I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yeah, at the beginning stages, I had a lot of imposter syndrome with it because
Yeah.
I was a struggling entrepreneur, just fell flat
Right.
on my
Yeah.
face with 2 businesses.
Right.
And there was this person that I met him in this like virtual networking event, and he invited me to one of his like mastermind sessions for free. I don't think I was like fully a part of the mastermind, but I they came to me and was like, "What's your challenge? What are you struggling with?" So like, well, I have this thing. We got like 1,000 followers. Like I'm thinking about I want to do something, but I'm suck as an entrepreneur. Like, how am I going to bring these entrepreneurs together? Like I just opened up and told him, and he's like,
Nice.
Devin, you are just as capable as anyone to do this. You do not have to be the expert. You just have to facilitate and bring the people together. And you have a
Mm.
good heart. You are amazing with people. Like you're made to do this. And this is going to be your success story.
Wow.
And that it hit me,
Yo, that's
man.
crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, like I don't have to be this huge entrepreneur or super successful to start this. I just got to facilitate and bring the people together. And that's how I'm going to add value to the marketplace. And then in addition, this is going to be my success story and how I grow in other areas. So
Wow.
that was another thing that
That's
stuck with me.
really cool. That the words
Mhm.
really just spoke to you. You connected, and it kind of pushed you to this point, right?
Mhm.
So I know you don't know your dad, and you grew up without a father, and a lot of times, sometimes I did grow up with my father, but I still dealt with like identity things, right?
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit. Was there a bit of like identity crisis growing up and trying to figure out yourself up to this point? And it sounds like that gentleman, whoever that was, kind of speaking like life into your like problem,
Mhm.
kind of gave you some identity and like you built some confidence in that.
Yeah.
So bring me back, were there identity issues? Like, was football more of like an identity for yourself, or, talk to me a little bit about
Yeah.
that.
That's a really good and deep question, man. Like, yeah, I would say a lot of it, like, I was more shy and reserved, especially through like probably, fourth grade, fifth grade. And then I started to make some friends and like get in the right circles with just like other athletes and people who were playing sports. And so that, like, I noticed a big shift there to where I was like a lot more shy, reserved, and wasn't super open with people. And then, like, fifth, sixth grade, when I got into middle school, I started to play sports and build a lot of friendships. And so that was where a lot of my identity came from. I was hanging
Mm,
with the boys.
yeah,
We
yeah,
were,
you were
yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I saw that shift. And then it was interesting after football, there was a little bit of an identity crisis as well. And I feel like even when I moved out here and stuff, I just wasn't showing up as my full authentic self. Like there was parts of me that were like still layers deep that were hidden. And I feel like a lot of that did come out starting Arizona Entrepreneurs because one, like even just speaking in front of people on stage,
Mhm.
like that was something I was deathly afraid of. And so like doing that so many times just built a lot of confidence in myself and talking to these people who are worth a lot of money where before I was like, scared to. And now I just like started to get in these conversations a lot more normally, being on podcasts, like doing all these different things just allowed me to really step in my power and like realize one, like I don't want to live an entire life where I'm just not myself and not
Mhm.
showing up as who I'm truly supposed to be here as. So yeah, I think a lot of it has shifted, and so I recommend that for a lot of people who struggle with it is like people say it all the time, but you got to do the uncomfortable stuff. Like if you start doing that more and more and more, like you're gonna just become a lot more comfortable with the uncomfortable versus like the previous version of myself would hide or shied away from that.
Yeah. What in those DMs when it was uncomfortable, when you have imposter syndrome, there's still some driving force there to
Hmm.
people probably did say you're crazy, and your family may have thought you're stupid for doing something like this. Well, then why do it? What was that driving factor?
It was like I said, I got vision tatted on my arm right here
Oh,
because
cool.
I'm such a big believer in like your vision is extremely important. And if you don't know where you're going, like then you're kind of just spinning through life. And so for me, I've always had such a strong vision for the life that I want to create. I want to, be able to make enough money to support my family, to support my kids, and to travel the world, to give back to charities I care about, have an amazing wife and children. And I see the houses, and like I see this entire life for myself. And so for me, I just have such a strong belief in one, that I'm going to create that for myself, but also in the person that I am, and that I wanna not leave anything left here on earth. So that's like the biggest driving force for me, is just the vision and things that I'm pursuing, which is just ultimate conviction and belief in myself that I'm going to create that.
That's powerful. I mean, some driving factors for a lot of people can be fear, fear of failure, but
Yeah.
you failed a few times already,
hmm
but you're so fixated on this north star of
Yeah.
your life that that's your driving factor every single day you wake up. So
hmm
that's a skill in itself. I can say to you and everybody here, like I don't have the driving factor. I don't have this vision of my. I did. I
hmm
had one, and it all just kind of like disappeared.
hmm
And more lately in the last 2-3 years, it's like, what do I want to do? How do I get there? I'm
hmm
kind of at your Arizona entrepreneur like
Yeah.
coming together.
hmm
I'm like right before that, right? So at least I can see that you, even through where I'm at, it's like trying to figure things out. You still had this like North Star and vision to go
hmm
after, which is very powerful. So tell me a little bit now, kind of, it feels like you're still in progress figuring yourself out now, or are you still in that journey, or are you kind of arrived there and you feel very confident?
No, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever feel like I've arrived.
Okay.
Honestly, maybe like down the road, but no, I don't feel like I've arrived by any means. It's like with any business, you have goals and things that you want to accomplish. So even though we've done amazing things with Arizona Entrepreneurs, brought together so many people, like there's so many more things that I want to do with the business, and people that I want to impact, people I want to have come and speak, and numbers that we want to hit. And then same thing with community launch. Like I've been building that business for the last year. We've worked with probably like right around 20 clients. So it's like it's cool to, like, don't get me wrong, I celebrate the wins and I'm super grateful for that. But at the same time, it's like I see my friends and all these people that are scaling coaching business, and not to compare myself, but
Right.
it's really just like a driving factor where it's like this person is no different than me,
Right.
and they're doing way
It's a
bigger
competitive
numbers. Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's so much more that I want to do in business. I just want to, like I said, I don't want to leave anything here. So even now, before I arrive, like I want to travel. I want to do all the things.
I like that. You mentioned a few times here. I don't see a ring on your finger, so you're not
Nah,
married.
not married. Nah.
But you aspire to be a good husband, a great
Yeah,
father, right?
100%. Yeah.
You mentioned a wife, right?
hmm
Is there a young lady in your life already?
There is right now. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
it's fairly new. We've only been together for a few months, but
Got it.
yeah.
Nice. Well, I like that, your vision.
hmm
Uh, it's not maybe a Lamborghini and a Ferrari down in your life, but that didn't come out of your mouth. What came
hmm
out of your mouth was family,
hmm
raising your kids, being a good husband, having a wife,
hmm
right? You're very family orientated,
hmm
and I like that. That's your goal through entrepreneurship. And I'm sure you met a lot of people, especially with what you do, guys that their goal is like just end goals the money,
hmm
right? And to self fulfill themselves with all these things around them. So what gives you that? Why do you want to be that good husband? Why do you want to be that father? Why do you want to have a good wife and just family? Like, you didn't mention the mansions, you didn't
Yeah.
mention all that, but why is that your vision?
That's super interesting you asked that. And don't get me wrong, like I definitely want to have the resources, and I think a lot of it's just because I didn't grow up with it. So I grew up in, with a single mom, like a broken family, you could say. I grew up with not a lot of money, not a lot of resources, not a lot of like things in front of me. So I think I've never been asked that question or really thought of like, why do I want that? But I think a big part of it is just because I didn't have any of that growing up, and I saw like my friends where they have, the nice house, their family's got money, they're going on spring break trips, they're doing
Oh
all the
yeah.
things, and I didn't have that growing up. So I think that's a big driving force where, my dad not being in my life, I want to be a great father, I want to be a great husband, I want to have some amazing kids, and be there throughout their life. I want to see the world is a really big thing. Like I'm definitely a more experiential person where over the material things, I want to have experiences with the people I
I
care
agree.
about.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, don't get me wrong. I want to have a beautiful house, have a cottage up in Michigan, travel. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that comes with it. But
exactly.
like
That's not the main
yeah,
thing
it's
though.
not the main thing for
Yeah.
you. Like, and I guess it takes some self-awareness, and again, pardon if I'm stepping on some things, but like some people that I've met where that don't have a father in their life, usually, I don't want to say usually, some people I've met carry some sort of resentment and anger,
Hmm.
right, growing up. And they end up having everything when really they look back and it was based off the preface of being in pain and hurt. And I don't get that from you. I don't feel like you have any resentment and hurt. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but
Hmm.
it feels like you're more at peace with yourself through some of these challenges. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like did you deal with that? Is there some reflection in what you do to kind of like not look at that anymore and let me be super successful so I can kind of forget all of that? Or how does that
Hmm.
work with you?
Man, you're getting deep here. So I feel like I didn't think about it until like my 20s. And it was actually a good friend of mine. She was like, and she's done like a lot of work, like in her childhood wounds and like things like that. And she was like, well, you know, that definitely impacts like who you are today and how you're showing up and everything. Like it 100% does. And I was like, cause like he wasn't there. Like I don't have memories of him in my life. So the fact that he wasn't there for my entire life, like it didn't feel like I lost something or like something was like a
Mm,
big hurt. And I did have a lot of like healthy male role models and people in my life growing up, although they weren't like my dad. But I would say, you know, I even noticed this for a period in Arizona Entrepreneurs to where it was like a year in where, you know, I'm having all these events, having all these people coming together speaking. And I was like, man, am I feeding off this so much because like people are, it's validating and people are like
mm,
talking about me or talking to me or whatever. I'm like, am
yeah,
I doing this for the wrong reason? And it was like a epiphany that I had because I was like, maybe I'm trying to like cover up a childhood wound and trying to just get
right,
validation from other people. So not to say that there's nothing there, like and a lot of it I have confronted and have thought about and just things that I've overcome, but I think there's not a ton of resentment there though. I really I don't know him like that.
right,
So
yeah.
it's not like, you know, at 5 years old someone leaving my life and feeling abandoned and
Mm.
like that. But I think there's probably some stuff there. But yeah, just working through it in your adult years because really that's when stuff like that shows up. Um,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, again, I've talked with a lot of people outside of this podcast. I just have learned a lot, and I find it very like refreshing. And like you said, you had some gentlemen that were like father figures in your life,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that plays a big role.
Hmm.
A lot of people I've met without that, without a father figure, and then without a father in their life,
Hmm.
sometimes they go astray
Hmm.
and they do things that they don't want. It's because they're lost, and it's not their
Yeah,
fault.
exactly.
So it's really great that you had some foundation for yourself and that you're able to kind of recognize your self-awareness of a lot of things, especially with entrepreneur, the business, like you being able to talk to yourself and be like, yo, am I doing this for me? Like, am I feeling good about this? Finding
Yeah,
validation. That's not easy,
yeah.
and that's a very like hard conversation to have with yourself. And it feels like the majority of your life, you do have some of these conversations. Like football, I'm sure requires you to be real with yourself.
Hmm.
Like if you suck, you suck.
Yeah,
Right? You know what
real.
I mean? Like you
Yeah,
can't like hide that,
yeah,
right? So how do you keep staying so transparent with yourself, or how did that get instilled in you?
yeah. Um, That's a good question. I honestly don't fully know the answer, but like back to the dad piece, I feel like a lot of it is just like wanting to be the complete opposite. Like a lot of men grow up that way too, to where it's like whatever they experienced, if it was not good and they didn't enjoy it, like they
Yeah.
want to create the complete opposite in their life. But I feel like I've always been rather self aware to where I don't know, just my internal dialogue, the vision, the thoughts that go through my head. I've always been pretty self-aware to where I know how I'm feeling, and I feel like I have um, good emotional intelligence, whether it's with another person that I'm talking to or with my own emotions. So I think that's a lot of it to where I reflect, and a lot of that stuff I probably like as a kid or like in middle school, high school, I didn't have, but especially over my adult years, I've just done a lot better job of just reflecting on situations. Like, how did that make me feel? Why didn't I like? And so, yeah, just
That
being
makes
a
sense.
little more self-aware.
So you deal with like personalities all day long. Like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
business, right?
yeah.
It's like talking to people and like you said, emotional intelligence. And that in itself is a skill. Like Elon Musk is great, right?
Mhm.
Smart guy, businessman, super savvy. But I've always heard stories like being in a room with him, trying to talk with him. It's like this like awkward
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thing, right? So putting money aside, having emotional intelligence, how do you handle these events? Like when you're there, I want to hear how it feels. Like, hey, what's up, man? And then like, Devin, yeah, Devin, what's up? And you're like
Mhm.
having to manage this whole thing. How do you keep yourself together, even when you feel like you've got things going on and you got to be ready for that?
Yeah, it's man, that's hard to answer. But yeah, it is they in a good way, but like I would say I don't know what the term is, but like I definitely feel extroverted in some traits, but then I also feel introverted in some, to
Right.
where I enjoy being around big groups of people and being in fun, like exciting environments, but at the same time it's draining for me pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I will say after the events I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. I'm
tired.
sure. I'm
It's
sure.
just a lot of conversations and a lot of energy output, but I love that stuff, man. I think the biggest challenge is like wanting to talk to everyone.
Mm,
And so like if there's somebody that I already know and we're sitting in a 15-minute conversation and then there's a couple of people
yep.
not talking to people and I kind of want to run around and facilitate and help people meet each other. So that's the most challenging thing, is just trying to have like not surface level conversations, but to be able to go deep takes time.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to like have a deep conversation, but as many as I can, meet new people, but also say what up to the homies. Like so
Shoot, that's crazy.
so it is a lot of just running around.
That's a skill. Like I don't think people really could fully grasp hosting an event, and especially high level entrepreneurs. Like you got to have the vibe. You got to
Mhm.
make sure they're happy, and you got to make sure that there's enough like value that they feel like they want to do this again.
Yeah.
Right? There's all that pressure, and having to manage all that
Hmm.
is a lot of work. So, dude, that's awesome. I can't.
Yeah.
And you do this every month.
Yeah. Monthly.
Dude, that's serious. That's serious. So, okay, so let's kind of go towards the future, and I'll start landing us here. But you got a bit of a pedigree. You got on LinkedIn, founder of the Arizona Entrepreneurs. You got community launch. Talk to me a little bit about the Happy Neighborhood Project.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because I think that was around when I talked to that mentor where he's like, "You're capable. You can do all these things." That's something I was just a host for it.
Oh,
So it's
okay,
basically
okay.
like a virtual networking event. They have them in all different states. So that was something that kind
Um,
of got me out of my imposter syndrome, where I had to lead this call. It was about like 50 to 70 people on the call. Like, "What's up, guys? Welcome to
yeah.
Happy." So it got me, in the zone a little bit with like hosting virtual calls. Because before then, man, I'd be a deer in the headlights with that Zoom camera on and 50 people looking at me like,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was already a precursor to what you're doing now.
yeah, in a way, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Student athlete,
Mhm.
that was for school. But what really gets me going is this events marketer. So you basically learned the skill you have now. And what business was this, and what were you guys doing?
So this is kind of a different skill. I'm glad you asked about this. I just talked to my buddy who's like really high up in that company right now, yesterday. But we, dude, it was such good experience in college, because basically we would go to events and trade shows. So think like home shows
Mm,
and wedding shows even.
mhm,
We would have a 10 by 10 booth there, and we have home improvement projects we're selling. So like windows and doors, siding,
mm,
roofing, things like that. And so, dude, our process was so dialed in, like our marketing. So the training was very, very thorough, and we would be there just like writing like tons of leads, like for people to basically, for our sales team to go out and give them like a down to the penny quote, and like basically one call close them like in person at their house. And
oh,
so we were there, writing a ton of leads, but I learned a ton from that, as far as like just overcoming objections in sales and marketing and like uncomfortable conversations and yeah, leadership, all that type of stuff. But the interesting thing is the second company, technically, I started the videography company that lasted about 2 months. We didn't make a single dollar, and I was like, all right, dude, I suck at videography. This isn't even fun. And then so the next company I started was Clear Cut Home Improvements. Me and my buddy Tom, we both worked at All Weather Seal, and then we moved here together afterwards.
Okay.
And so we started a company called Clear Cut Home Improvements. And
Okay.
basically we went around the valley, found like windows and doors companies, roofing companies, siding companies, just like external partners that we could partner up with and basically generate leads for them.
Mm.
And then so we would go to these events and trade shows, and we had that skill set where we could generate a ton of leads at these shows. So we would go out and basically we were like selling our different partnered embedded companies, and it was a cool experience, even though it didn't work out.
That's it. Well, two parts. One, it's not easy to do that. I sold solar for years,
Okay.
and I was at the booth, trying to get leads. You're
Yeah.
like, hey, come over here.
Yeah.
And they're just like trying to avoid you, right? So you got to overcome that feeling,
Yeah.
right? And then when you're comfortable, you're like, hey, what's up? Nice hat,
Yeah.
Hey, what you doing here, and you get them to come over. So that is not easy. So that gave you a lot of confidence, I see. And then two, you learned a lot of like your base skills, but doing the hard work. Like this is the hard work, being not cold door knocking and cold calling, and obviously pitching people at a home show when they're annoyed of you and like they don't want anything to do with you. Why that? Like, why did you do it? Like, why not go do something easier and get better output, I guess,
Yeah, it was just because we knew it and we were really good at it. We were really good at the events marketing. And honestly, a lot of it was the process. So like, I'll share a little bit of it with you, a little
Okay, all right.
sauce.
Cool.
So a lot of people at the home shows would just be like, one, they just wouldn't say anything. So they would just wait till someone stops at their booth. But like we would see all the different processes. And so ours, we would have a $15,000 home improvement giveaway, and we would do it every single year. And so we would stop people and we would say, hey, did you get a chance to see what we're doing here today? Or, hey, did you get a chance to enter? Whatever, just something to stop them. We had this big like sign up here, and then they would stop and then, oh no, what are you doing? And then we would hand them a laminate. And so it's in their hands. And then we say, okay, so if you were to win the giveaway, which project would you choose? And it's like, oh, probably the windows. Okay, cool. So what makes you say the windows? Well, mine are a little drafty right now. There's a lot of air that comes through them in the winter time. Okay, so what are you kind of doing to deal? Oh, we got like some tarp up. And so they just be telling us all the things they hate about their windows. And it's like, well, cool. Well, we actually, since we're here at the home show, we have quite a few people that are going to be here in the area. So what we could do for you is we could swing by and actually give you a down to the penny quote on what it would be, just in case like down the road you do want to replace those windows. Oh, that's good. Dude, it was so dialed.
That's actually really good.
It is.
Yeah, because you don't work for the company. You
Yeah.
don't work for these roofing, solar, windows company. You're prefacing them for an appointment and you're selling that. That's actually slick with the
laminate.
The laminate. Yeah, that's good. Because it's harder when you represent the company. You're trying to sell the one thing. Like you got to be like, hey, HVAC.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't need it. All right, sweet.
Exactly.
You get to talk about, hey, what's wrong with the
Solar,
house?
roof, yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That is some sauce.
If people who do events marketing, especially for home improvement, my guys back home are probably gonna be mad at me that I just shared the whole game because, dude,
That's good.
Yeah,
And, lead generation is a thing. Like I build call centers with people overseas. Like that's generating leads for whatever we want, right? So I guess you went into the videography. You went into doing this again, right? Or was videography?
Yeah. So like All Weather Seal, that was like a company where they have roofing side.
Okay.
They do it all in house,
Right.
and then the company we started out here, we had different partners. So we
Okay.
founded like the Trusted and Bendo window company and etc.
Got it. Okay. So I learned from entrepreneurs, and I'm going to start taking this home. The one thing I learned from entrepreneurs and high level entrepreneurs, or people just being in business, is they put the cart before the horse. And a lot of times, people who want to get into business, and if you're listening, you want to get into business, maybe this is you. They analysis paralysis, right? They think about all the what ifs. They got to wait for the right time, and they got to make sure that the stars are aligning before they actually take some action.
Yeah.
Right. With the failures you've had, why did you put action into it, knowing that you're going to have failure, or do you align with that, putting the cart before the horse, like doing action first?
Dude, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and he's like, well, yeah, man, I got the business plan finished, and I'm probably going to start it in about 3 months. I got to do this. And I was like, dude, Literally, just make a video and just say you do this thing now. Like, just put it out there, and that, like, because you have no idea how the market is going to respond. And I made that mistake so many times. So now it like gets on my nerves when I got a buddy like tell me he's going to start it next year. But yeah, I did that a lot, especially early on, to where I was like, okay, we're gonna build this membership, we're gonna have these courses here, and you build it, and nobody wants the damn thing.
Yes,
And
been
so
there.
I'm such a big believer in just putting it out there, getting feedback from the marketplace, and using that to actually perfect it and to develop the process versus trying to build everything to make it perfect and then bringing it to the market and realizing they don't want it. So yeah, with anything I do now, like I'm not afraid to fail now. Which early on it was like, a lot of imposter syndrome and scared to fail, scared to look stupid online or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. But
Yeah.
now I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna put it out there. I just care a lot less what people think now compared to when I was first getting started. But
Cool.
my recommendation for anyone is literally just make the video, talk about it, just start telling people you do this thing now, and you will figure it out. So say it's like, I help people. I help people generate leads, and we help them with paid advertising. And I have some experience doing paid advertising. Instead of building the landing page, the funnel, the opt-in, the booking, like instead of building all that, make a video. Hey, we help companies scale paid ads. Like, and then if someone reaches out to you, offer it to them for way cheaper and use it as like a beta test client. But like, people are so understanding of being in those early stages of entrepreneurship. And if you are able to really do what you say you can do and provide them a transformation, just offer them an insane deal. And then now you got a testimonial. They tell you what's not working. So you're able to get so much more experience from just doing it versus like analysis paralysis, just thinking about it, researching for.
That's sauce. What you just said is sauce. Like, go out there, do it for a cheaper price, beat the competitor, get the testimonial, rinse and repeat, and then
Exactly.
raise your prices.
Yeah.
Like, I've done that multiple times with things that I do, and I've never heard it that way. That's all you have to do, right? So I love that.
I'll even share one more thing. So
Yeah,
for
please.
community launch, like when I first started that business, like I thought it was going to be the same thing as Arizona Entrepreneur, like the same type of community. So I'm reaching out to like networking groups, masterminds, like a lot of in-person communities, and I'm like, I'm going to help them build. And I worked with a few of them, and then I just learned so much about like, okay, they got these challenges, and then I started working with like some coaches and experts. It's like, okay, they have more money to invest, and also they're able to create like a way bigger ROI when they bring in like these high ticket coaching clients. And I just learned like over the last year where none of our stuff was like perfect and dialed in as far as the front end appearance, but like I knew that I could provide real transformation for these clients. And so over the last year, I learned so much about like, okay, who is the ideal client, the person that I want to work with? What transformation can we provide them? What specific platforms are we going to help them to use and not budge on? What contracts are we going to have in place, just from like experiencing over the last year? So I could have spent this whole last year just thinking about like
Yeah,
who
so
to offer
true.
it to and everything versus just like learning.
Yeah, so I'm sure you share in this same idea, but you get the customer, and then you maybe not even have the full back end process
Yes.
figured out, but you're scrambling to figure it out because someone paid you.
Exactly. And
Right?
you will figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
Like, it's like your feet are on the fire now. Like,
Exactly.
I got to figure this out.
Such a good point.
What I guess it makes sense for us,
Mm-hmm.
but what can you tell that person right now that they're scared to fail? That feeling, like, what if someone pays me and then I fail? What would you say to them?
Man, that if you're that afraid to fail, like that is entrepreneurship, to where you're gonna go through challenges, you're gonna go through failures. But if you are an ethical person and someone pays you money,
Yeah.
you will figure it out.
Yeah,
like,
so true.
Because it's one thing if I spend $2,000 on this thing and it doesn't work out, like I could deal with that self and take that loss myself.
Right.
But if someone pays me $2,000, I'm going to guarantee that they get that value, whether I got to work with them for an extra year, or meet with them, or
Right.
fly them out, whatever I have to do. And so that is like what will motivate you, unless you're doing some shady stuff where it's like, oh,
Just
2K.
thinking yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
The next guy, and then you don't hear from them ever again.
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, that does exist.
Yeah.
But like you just said, if you're ethical and you want to take care of people, you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Because that fire, that momentum, when you accept them, when that money hits the bank account, Like when it hits my bank, I'm like, yo, I got to get on it. Like,
Exactly.
hey man, we're doing this. Let's schedule the call. Let's make sure we're on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I make sure that they're annoyed of me. Like,
Yeah.
Shaq, like I can't do it today. I can't be with
Yeah.
you today. Can we do it next week? But I know deep inside I can sleep at night knowing like, all right, I'm doing what I can to make sure
Exactly.
that they get what they paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's great. So I'm gonna start landing us here. I have a few big questions to ask you, and then we'll go into like a rapid fire round. But the big questions I have. The first one is, what is your biggest regret if you have one up to this point?
My biggest regret, you know, that's a good question, man. I got to think about that one a little
Take your
bit.
time. It's good that you're thinking about it.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
normally I would just like start rambling and talking until I think about it, but let me just think for a second.
Take your time, man.
No regrets, man.
I like no, yeah, the one that's misspelled on his chest. That meme.
Man,
Hey, dude, that's great. Honestly,
well, I don't really feel like I have any big regrets that I can think of right now. The only things are just like, starting sooner or um yeah, honestly, just getting out of my comfort zone sooner, which I'm very grateful I did when I did in like throughout college and stuff. But I even felt like throughout college ball and stuff, I wasn't like, being my full self. And so I think a lot of it just comes down to doing the uncomfortable things sooner because you could always do it sooner. And then it's like, how would college have been different
I
or
see.
et cetera, et cetera. But honestly, dude, I try to live to where I don't have many regrets
Dude, I love that.
and I genuinely can't think of a lot of things that are rushing in my head where it's like I regret
Yeah,
that.
no, and some people do. I sit here and I ask the same question. Some people are like, "Yeah, I regret this," and
Hmm.
and my wife and I, we've always lived by feeling like, okay, if we're on our deathbed at 75 years old,
Hmm.
like we want to be on that deathbed with no regrets,
Hmm.
right? Let's take the risk because if
Yeah.
we don't, it's going to be driving in our mind like we didn't take the risk, right?
Hmm.
So I'm really like it's refreshing to know, not refreshing because there are people who have legitimate regrets and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's cool to find out with you like you have to really think about it,
Hmm.
and that takes a state of consciousness and being able to be aware of what you're doing. So respect to you, I like it.
Right.
How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as someone who shined a light on a lot of people. Just like I want to make everybody feel like, and I think a lot of this probably does stem from my dad not being there and just like wanting to feel like welcomed in groups. And so same thing if I see someone who looks like he, isn't fitting in or isn't comfortable, like I want to make every single person that I come across feel like the most important person in the room. So I just want people to remember me as someone who cared a lot about other people and always put other people first and someone who accomplished a lot before he went. So I want to be someone who just people loved and cared about.
Well, I don't know you well, but from what I've seen and the posts and the business that you have, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what people would feel,
I
right?
appreciate that, man.
So, and when you're in a room full of a lot of people, it again, it takes a lot to be aware of how other people feel in that
Hmm.
moment. I grew up in church, like churches and people and leading worship and being
Hmm.
a pastor and feeling the room and where everybody's at is a
Hmm.
skill. And I'm sure people know without you looking at them that they know you're thinking of them, right?
Hmm.
And that's how you build community. So that's great. I like that. And what about in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
Honestly, a lot of that stuff I said, man, that's like the 5 year vision. I want to, have a beautiful house, likely here in Arizona. I'm not tied specifically to here though, but a beautiful house here in Arizona. I want to by then 5 years, how old I'll be 33, maybe have my first kid, be married by then.
Nice.
Granted, like I don't think it's super important to put time frames on that type of stuff. Like I'm not gonna be
Fair
kicking
enough.
myself if it's not in the next 5 years, but just like
Right.
the overall vision I'm trying to accomplish. And, I want to do a lot of traveling. I want to experience, God's creation and see a lot of the world and just go to different places, experience life to the fullest. And ultimately the thing to get me there, I want to Arizona entrepreneurs to have, well over 1,000 members and be impacting the lives of so many
Let's
business
go.
owners at
Yeah.
different stages here in Arizona. And I want community launch to be working with tons of clients. I don't have a specific number, but just tons of clients around the world, helping them build these big communities that are creating true transformation. And then in addition, like as I start to accumulate more wealth, I want to invest into other companies. Like I really want to get
That's
into the
cool.
VC space and investing into real estate and have different rental properties. And yeah, I just want to set up my financial future and like my foundation for myself and my future family, like have that all squared away in the next 5 years. But I think more important than anything, it's like the experiences, the relationships. So I just have a real close circle and friend group, people I care about, do cool stuff with, have mentors and people who are, uplifting me and just be in rooms with really high level people that inspire me and like continue to keep me to evolve. But I think the biggest piece is just like the people I care about, spending a lot of time with the people that I care about and living life to the fullest.
Love it. I love it. There's still some sense of like, there's goals that you have,
Mm-hmm.
but I like that you're not so like if I don't get it by five
Mm-hmm.
years,
Yeah.
that's hard balance to find. And then one thing you mentioned, like being around high level entrepreneurs, and you probably agree with the statement, but your net worth is, the group. Say your piece to that. Like how important is that?
It's so important just because I like I even had like my buddies in town, which I love them to death. It's my friends from Michigan, but if they listen to this, they'll laugh at it. But they swear like some sailors, man.
Oh
Like, and
yeah.
so like I even noticed myself just swearing way more like after they left. And so it's like, dude, that statement is so real, like so true. You literally become who you surround yourself with. I'm like saying the same
Mm,
sentences and sayings they're saying, and it was just so interesting. They were here for a week, but just to see how like the way I was acting and turning into just like
interesting.
change.
Yeah.
And so that was just like a very short term example of it, but that is so true. It's like if you're around a group of people who are worth $100 million and those are your best friends, like you're gonna evolve in a lot of ways, and you're not gonna be likely acting the same as like being in a group of just my football buddies where we're just talking about football and
Yeah.
dating girls and like doing stuff like that. So
Right.
it makes such a big difference, and that's something why I'm like super protective of like it's actually interesting to look back at because like when I first moved here, I had no friends. And like shortly after I started Arizona Entrepreneurs, we had this like really big friend group of like probably like 50 people, just a ton of entrepreneurs and like people that got together. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. But it was interesting to see how it evolved because people kind of started separating into their like little
Oh,
subgroups,
right. Right.
which
Yeah.
is natural.
Yeah.
And, so I have like a lot of friends and people I care a lot about. But as far as like, buddies that I'm hitting up, like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Like it's a pretty small group of people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a little plug. Obviously, if you're in Arizona and you're not around the right people, and you need to get around the right people in entrepreneurship and the right people in the mindset, you got to go to his group. And the subscription fee, like how does that work? So if people listen about
Yeah,
this,
yeah. So basically, we have like two different offers. So we have a free membership. It's everything that we do virtually. So we're able to support entrepreneurs at any level. And
that's cool.
so we do like we bring on a guest speaker every month, have a virtual networking event, an online community, all that type of stuff for free. So we have that, and then we have our inner circle. So it's like an application-based community. That's for everything that we do in person. So all of
Mm,
our in-person events are now exclusive for our inner circle. The investment is $997 for the year, but you get access to all the inner circle events. You get to bring a guest with you to the inner circle events, get like the
cool.
private online community. So it was honestly a recent pivot that we made, but I just saw it as because like I shared with you, we've had 6,000 people at the events. It was all like ticketed events.
Yeah.
And so we shifted to where it was like, I want to be able to support any entrepreneur because I want to serve the younger version of
Yeah.
myself
That's
that was
cool.
struggling and trying to figure it out. So that's why we created a lot of free resources in the free membership. But then the in-person stuff, I just wanted to elevate it and curate the environment with people who are like serious about being in the room. They want to scale businesses. They're not just there to have some cocktails and hang out,
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. This guys, I'm not knocking the BNIs, but BNIs are like I don't like BNIs. It's just like it's like a little cult, and like you got to go to lunch with somebody, and like it's just weird. When I was managing a roofing company, and like they signed up, had me do a BNI, and I like after 2 weeks, I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this, even though I'm sure they work. And it's just an older group of people, and it's like older style things. So what I see is like you're creating a better, newer, more hip version
Yeah.
of a BNI. Is that right?
In a way, yeah. No, that's interesting you say that, because that was honestly like a big driving factor for me starting it. Like, same thing, not to knock these other organizations, because they're all beneficial for the right people.
Right.
But like for me, that was the biggest thing I noticed. I was going to the chambers, to the BNI, to all these different groups, and the biggest thing was I was like decades younger
Yeah,
than
yeah.
everybody in the room. And granted, there's value in that and a lot of wisdom and people I could learn so much from. But
Right.
at the time, I was looking for some friends, man. I just wanted to be around some friends and like people that I could build companies with. And so that's definitely the niche that we've fulfilled. Is our group is definitely more like, 21 to 45. Like, it's a younger
Yeah.
crowd and people who are energized and excited about business, and it's a little more hip, a little more fun. We do make them fun, like have a DJ there and stuff, to where that's the biggest thing for me. Is I was honestly just bored at a lot of these other meetings
Yeah,
and groups,
same.
so I just wanted to make something where it's like, dude, let's go out and have a good time.
9 o'clock in the morning, gotta
Yeah.
go to this place.
Denny's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I see y'all's events, I'm like, the heck is this? Like, everyone's like having a good time, so that's cool. I like that. Last big question is, what is success to you?
We've talked about it a few times already. It's really experiencing life to the full, like that end picture that I rattle off quite a few things of what that looks like. But yeah, man, it's the family unit. It's being able to be completely financial free, where I don't really have to think about money, but to where I have a surplus that I'm able to give back and bless the lives of a lot of other people. And yeah, just really create experiences and memories. Me and my mom got this saying where it's like, let's go make memories, like where we're just sitting around doing something. It's like, let's go make memories. And so that's a big thing for me, is I just want to have like a life full of amazing memories and experiences versus just kind of letting it waste away.
Dude, much respect to you. That's great. And I love hearing everyone's perspective on what success is. And it's always a joy to see when families like first, because money comes and goes. You can make it, you can lose it, but the memories are the only things you're going to have when you're on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to think about, I made $1 million that day.
Yeah.
You're going to think about, I had such a great time with my kids, or I had a great time with my wife. So much respect to you. All right, rapid fire round. All right, It's just going to be straight questions. Don't think about it.
Oh man,
Just answer the
suck
question.
at this, but let's do it.
All right. Are you a pizza or spaghetti guy?
Pizza,
Okay, nice. Are you a Coke or Pepsi?
Coke,
Okay, Diet Coke or just like straight up?
straight up Coke.
Nice. Okay, living on the edge. I
Yeah.
like it. Are you on the walk at the beach type of guy or early morning hike?
Walk on the beach.
I didn't expect that. I thought you were going to be the hiking guy. All right. Would you take $1 million up front once, or would you take $15,000 a month for the rest of your life?
$15K a month for the rest of my life.
Why 15?
Because I mean that just puts you in a great. It's all about like rich dad poor dad, man. That passive income. Like,
True,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to stack passive income versus like $1 million. Like, with inflation and everything, you got it sitting in the bank. Or you could look at it from both perspectives, because you could take that $1 million, invest it into an
Right,
apartment, and have more cash flowing. But
Right.
I'm taking $15K a month.
Nice. Everyone has, in different walks of life, has different answers. I'm still figuring mine out. I
Yeah.
don't know which one. I get to ask. I like the 15, but $1 million, it's like $1 million. I already have some sort of business acumen to start another business, and it's going to take X amount of dollars, and then I can generate more than 15. But like, I like your answer.
Yep.
Rich dad, poor dad.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it. Football or basketball?
Football.
Okay. All right.
day.
So I'm curious to find somebody that played football their life.
And says basketball.
Yeah. It says basketball. Are you a stocks or crypto guy?
Crypto.
Crypto. Do you have any investments in anything?
A little bit of crypto, like Ethereum, a little Bitcoin, and then
What
XRP.
altcoin? Oh, XRP.
Yeah.
Okay. No altcoin, like
A little Doge.
a little risk. I got
Yeah.
it. And right now, as we speak, it's like crashed 25%,
As
which is
it
pretty crazy.
should.
Yeah, don't look at your portfolio. Curious about this one: Lamborghini or Ferrari?
Ferrari.
Okay, like the old money cigar type thing. Okay, but you're in crypto. Usually, crypto and Lamborghini go together.
They do go together. If you would have asked me Bentley, I would have said Bentley.
Okay. Oh, you're like refined.
I'm
taste.
more of like smoking a stogie, riding the Bentley. with
Not
the
going
top-
fast.
No, going slow.
I like it. Okay, I can see that now. All right. The last question: if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Teleport.
Teleport.
Gone.
You're in Thailand.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Where's the if you had the time and finances right now just to leave, where's that destination?
Me and the lady are talking about going to Hawaii here in a little bit, which sounds amazing, just being on the beach and on the water. And I've heard a lot of really good things. I haven't been to Hawaii. Yeah, I would say somewhere by the beach is what I'm craving over the next couple of months. But it depends when you ask me that question.
Okay.
I'll have a different
Yeah,
answer
fair
every time.
enough. Yeah, that's true. All right, awesome. So, what would you want to leave with? What can you say to the entrepreneur in progress, the person that's trying to do better for their life? And we've got creators, we have, intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs, we have business owners. What can you say to those people?
So I'm gonna say something that isn't necessarily gonna make you feel all happy and excited, but it's not gonna be easy. Is the truth of the matter. There's gonna be a lot of challenges, a lot of trials and tribulations, and not to go out seeking that because I truly do believe like what you set your sight on is what you're gonna attract more of. But at the end of the day, if entrepreneurship was easy and you just start a business, make millions of dollars, everybody would do it. So
Sure.
it's gonna be challenging, and you have to be aware of that, but at the same time, the biggest thing that you can do is one, like get as clear as possible. Like whatever you have to do, whether it's go lay down and listen to some music and try to visualize or take a cold plunge or go for a hike, go sit in the water. I don't know. It's different for everybody, but just try to journal honestly is a really good way to just write
Mm,
down your thoughts and what's coming to mind. But take some time to get really clear on what you're doing it all for because I think that is extremely important is your driving factor and what you're trying to build this all for and try to get really clear on what it is and then next to that if you have a very clear vision of where it is that you're going so you know now what you have to do day by day to pursue yourself towards that goal is just having so much conviction and belief in yourself because without belief in yourself, it's so hard. It's almost impossible
mm,
to make it in business. So have belief in yourself, and the way to create belief in yourself is through one discipline and just continuing to show up and do the things that you say you're going to do. But then in addition, it's just doing things that you're uncomfortable with. Like you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You have to continue to do the things you say you're going to do, have the right habits. And if you do those things, which is a lot easier said than done, and I've struggled with that throughout my journey as well. But if you do those things, you have that clear vision. So now you know what you have to do every day to progress towards
right,
that vision. It's inevitable
right.
that you will be successful one day. So those are the things that you can choose to do that are going to pursue you towards that versus when you face a little bit of resistance and challenges, just kind of tapping out because that's what most people do.
Timo, is
Hmm.
exactly what he said. He's like, hey, when most people face the fire, they usually like back up and quit.
Hmm.
But that's when things actually start to happen. Is when you're in the fire, you push past it.
Hmm.
So that's exactly what you're saying, and I agree. And he's as successful as he is. So,
Hmm.
well, thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the shot, not knowing me from who I am, and come in here into my messed up room right now.
It
And
looks great, man.
yeah,
Can't wait to
right.
see the finished product.
It's got patina, right? It's a character. Well, great. I appreciate it, man. Any last words? You're good.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you hitting me up. I always enjoy having conversations with. I could tell you're a really good dude, man, and you're gonna do a lot of cool stuff as well. So
Thanks.
I'm honored and appreciate the fact that you invited me. I thought I had some cool things to say
You
today.
did. You did. All right, guys. Make sure to follow him at Devin Ray Butler.
Yes, sir.
And any other social media handles that other than that.
For Arizona entrepreneurs, it's at Arizona entrepreneurs. No, those are really the best way to get in touch and kind of keep up with what we're doing.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next podcast.